The story continues at the academy during sleeping hours in the hallway, where a student is exact at the masked guy for taking his golden coin. He stands in a battle-ready form, asking his opponent if he really thinks he can take a valuable item from him without any repercussions. The student, whose name is Rose Emus, also known by his epithet the Magma Master of Worker Dorm, casts an overwhelming-looking spell towards the masked guy, but he activates his special eye and then proceeds to decorate his blade with the blood of the Magma Master. Masked guy then roasts him for being incredibly weak before walking off and removing the blood from his sword. We then cut to a mouse, vibing and enjoying some nibbles before it is scared away by a life-sized doll walking uncontrollably. The next day Lance gives some insight into the organization, Magia Lupus, who are a group made up of the elite students in the land dorm, while Mash is preparing what I presume to be cream puffs. Lance tells him that not only are the members of Magia Lupus magically talented, but they also have high self-esteem, which undeniably makes them the top students in the academy. Lance has the idea of hunting them down since he does not want to play a defensive game against students who possess such abilities. But the issue with his line of thought is that the school has decided to hide all the dorms' locations from each other to encourage some kind of competition between them. He asks Mash about what he thinks of his idea of trying to figure out their location so that they can take their coins, but Mash is his happy world perfecting his art of cream puff making, so he responds with one word which makes Lance wonder if he was even listening this whole time. Nevertheless, he gives Mash their dorm robe, which he struggles to wear. Lance hopes that wearing the robe will make him more conscious of the fact that he actually belongs to a dorm as they converse. Lemon barges in to interrupt them and informs the boys that Tom is in big trouble. However, Mash tells her that Tom's issue can wait since his cream puffs are still being cooked, but Lemon is adamant that they go see him after arriving at his location. Lemon notices that he looks completely drained. Tom cracks a cold sweat and informs him that he does not remember what happened to him. The only thing he knows is that when he woke up, he found himself bedbound in the infirmary, and since he lives his life at full speed, he usually falls asleep without dreaming. So morning comes relatively quickly for him, but on the night he collapsed, he dreamt that he was restrained within a dark box unable to speak. Even though he was fully conscious, he remained in that state for hours. Due to the tense situation, Mash removes the cream puff and begins to munch. Lemon asks the captain if he is feeling okay physically, although he is all right. He feels a bit woozy, and on top of that he has temporarily lost his ability to use magic and doesn't perceive any magical energy within himself. He feels as though someone has sucked out all of his energy. Lance looks behind and sees that this same condition is the reason why the other students, they are also in the infirmary. He wonders what exactly is going on and why all this is happening whilst the headmaster has been summoned to the Bureau of Magic. All of this gets Lemon concerned, so she gives Mash a toy and informs him that it is a good luck charm, so he should keep it with him at all time. She also tells him not to do anything risky. Later that evening, Mash and Lance decide to execute their plans of finding the base of operation for Magia Lupus. Lance has reasons to believe that they are behind the current issues in the school. Mash is more concerned about them walking around the academy after hours. But Lance doesn't really see an issue with that. Barrett comes out of nowhere, uninvited, and chimes in to say that all should be okay if they apologize later. Finn also joins the party only because he does not want to be left alone in his room. Lance isn't too happy about them tagging along and thinks that it is a bad idea. But Mash feels sorry for them, so he suggests that they allow the newcomers to join in their search for coins. As the group of four make their way through the corridors, Skimp Boy, Barrett spots Lemon and begins to skimp so hard for her that his nose starts to use a liquid that is the same color as his hair. He decides to call out to her, but Lance holds his mouth shut as he suspects that something is not quite right. Surely enough, he is correct as Lemon starts to break dance like a zombie and then turns around with a face that resembles a doll. The boys manage to hide in time before she could spot them, so she continues her journey to wherever the hell she is going. Lance recognizes that she is under some sort of magic spell and postulates on what they should do, but Finn cuts him off and sees that she is heading in a particular direction. So the boys decide to chase her down under Mash's request to see exactly where she is going. However, when they turn to the same corner Lemon navigated, they are met with a dead end while she is nowhere to be seen as they stand there, confused by her disappearance. Finn swears he hears something that sounds like with creaking. But Barrett becomes irate and yells at him to stop being so scared. But he soon hears the exact same sound, so they both run over to Mash and begin to cry on their shoulders. Lance tells them to calm down and cast the spell that reveals a secret door, but he alerts them that that is as far as his magic can go. He is unable to open the door. Barrett tries to blast the threshold with his fire magic, but not even a scratch is left on the door. It is Mash's turn. So he improvises by hitting the ground with his bare fist, which opens it slightly. He then stops it from closing by holding it with the sword and armor before stamping on the sword, which blows the door completely off and out of bounds. When making his way into the opening, he remembers Lemon's words for him not to do anything risky. He apologizes for not keeping his promise before proceeding down the stairs. While walking through the hallways, Lance knows that with their hideout being underground, it gives them an advantage. Barrett cuts him off with a loud cry after seeing a light, which leads them to a battle arena. The groups are welcomed by a caller who makes an appearance in a burst of spectacular flames. He notifies them that where they stand is an ancient dueling field so old that he doubts the current teachers of the school, the knowledge of its existence. One of them asks him if he is part of Magia Lupus, but he denies it and tells them that he is merely there as a request from the third Fong to eliminate intruders. The guy informs them that if they wish to proceed, then coins have to be wagered. Lance accepts his challenge and steps up to the plate, but Barrett stops him from moving forward as he presents himself to take on their opponent. His reasoning for wanting to fight the student is because he hates the fact that the guy is good looking. Barrett even gets incredibly angry and jealous when he finds out that his enemy has a fan club of females. The guy rose spirit by saying that there is no way he can lose to a person who lacks both a good face and good brains. He then gets ready for battle when he activates his plant-based magic. Elsewhere in the kingdom, the headmaster has arrived at the Bureau of Magic, which is the highest legal authority in the magic realm. The bald man apologizes for calling him over so suddenly. He then goes on to inform Wahlberg that 6 notorious inmates who were on death row have escaped from Alcatraz. The guards who were guarding the prison were eliminated without mercy, and the prisoners were only able to achieve such a feat with the help of a particular somebody known as Innocent Zero. We cut back to the battle between Jealous Skimp Boy and the handsome student. Barrett initiates by launching a solid fire spell, but the guy easily dispels it and counters with a reaching attack, which the Red dodges. He wants to know if they are the group responsible for defeating Silva, but Barrett shyly admits that he got the crap beaten out of him. The guy is disappointed that Silva, who is a double-liner, could lose. He feels like a magic capability was wasted on someone like him. The guy then warns Barrett that he is a much tougher opponent, so he shouldn't be taken lightly. But hearing this only makes the Barrett more excited as he vows not to lose. He raises his wand and launches a series of spells that surrounds his opponent. He warns the guy to watch his step because the magic that surrounds him is a conditional spell, and it has 5 times the normal explosion power. The guard is sure that someone like him would never fall for such a trap, so he releases a spell that flies towards Barrett, who tries to counter with his own flurry of attacks, but his fire spell is weaker, so he gets overpowered and is caught in an entanglement. The guy then pierces Barrett with multiple thorns that immobilize his body. He then issues some more roasting to Barrett before telling him that the next move will finish him off as he manipulates his lines to slam into the ground. It makes contact with the spell and triggers a massive explosion. Barrett notifies him that the magic he cast earlier is nothing more than a time bomb that sets off after a period has elapsed. He retrieves his wand while his opponent stands there in shock that he could lose to such an unpleasant-looking person when the blast is over and the dust settle. The guy sits there defeated in an attractive pose which Barrett admires. Not long after their victory, does the ground below them turn to quicksand and swallows them. They all land in different locations apart from Finn and Barrett, who fall together and are confronted by 2 Magia Lupus members. One of them is Love Cute, who is the 5th Fong, and the other is Milo Genius, who is the 4th Fong. When Finn sees that both their opponents are double-liners, he quivers in fear and cries whilst holding on to Barrett, but his colleague tells him not to give up before the battle has even begun, because if they can get through this, it will be a super underdog victory. Elsewhere, Lance drops and instantly feels an ominous presence. He is greeted by a double-liner who is the 3rd Fong of Magia Lupus, known as Worth Maddle. He is disappointed to not have Mash as his opponent. Speaking of Mash, he falls in a fashion only befitting to him as he stands in a dark room. He wonders where everyone is when his thoughts are interrupted by a voice that soon leads to the room being illuminated. He is confronted by the mask, and once more, who introduces himself as Abyss Razor's second form of magia lupus. He reveals that he is well aware of Mash being magicless, although Mash tries to deny it. Razor tells him not to worry since he too is in the same boat. He also says that he has his own reasons for being in the academy. They both take their fighting stance ready for battle, and that brings the episode to an end.